Hello everyone, Argsy here. Welcome back to the Canadian cattle farmer here on Chilliwack, British Columbia. Now hopefully I've pronounced that correctly. I've had some advice shorten my I was saying it more like Chilliwack rather than Chilliwack. So hopefully that might appease a few people. Now we've got a couple of things to do today. If you caught the live stream, you would have seen that we got the alfalfa planted over in the other field. So we've got that all set up for hay. I'll just show you where that is now. Swap over here where the wheat was, where all our other silage equipment is. Field 170, we ploughed in this area, so we've increased the field size, and that is now all alfalfa. So that will be a good source for some hay, as well once we get our yard converted and make this part here a grass field, as will that area once it's done. But that is all finished. Now, the main two tasks I want to get onto today is to finish off the silage, and we've had a few breakthroughs, and thank you all so much for your advice and comments and for your support following the last episode. Now what I've done, and if you caught the live stream you would know this as well, is I've actually replaced the blower. Now this blower has a slightly bigger trigger, which means auto drive will work with it, which is a great find, and thank you for BSL Modding, I believe it is, who have released that. I'll leave a link down in the description. But also the other suggestion that came out of the live stream in a couple of video comments was to add the upgradable productions mod, which I can't remember exactly what it's called. It might even be just called upgrade productions. But you can see we're on our corn silage. We have this upgrade option. It does cost us $82,500, so it's not cheap. But we're going to go for that, and you can see it's doubled our capacity. So that should leave us with enough space to be able to finish off the silage. So I'm just going to get that turned on, and you can see there it's gone and emptied out the blower, which is fantastic. And we'll go and show you how this bigger trigger will actually work with auto drive. Now some of you would have seen this during the live stream. We jump up here into the New Holland, which of course was the tractor we were having the biggest issues with collisions as well as the trigger. We've got our targets all set up correctly, so we're just going to jump straight into there. Watch it pull up here. Now hopefully no issues with collisions. My mistake, we needed to send it to the stave silo, not to the waypoint. A little bit of a rookie error there, so we'll just come back around and we'll show you. But you saw it did get past it without any issues, so you will see that it's going to line up and go along there just perfectly. Get back turned around here, press the go button again, tell it to head to the stave silo, and again, someone else corrected me on this. These are harvest stores, not a stave silo. So I've got a little bit wrong there on the terminology. So apologies there to my North American friends for getting that wrong. But here we go. You can see it's gone slow because we're getting close to the trigger. So we'll just wait in just a minute. Get on past without any collision on the blower. And as we get up here beside it, success! It is doing what it's meant to do. So I'm blown away that I've managed to get that to work. Very excited to get that all up and going. So I'm going to jump out of there because that will just empty itself out. Head on up into the silo because it's got enough capacity, and we'll get the Kubota set up and going as well. Then we'll jump over to the field and get the chopper up, the forage harvester up and going again, and then we'll be all good to get that bit finished off, hopefully without any issues with axles. We'll just have to wait and see, and in fact maybe we'll drive one of the tractors to try and avoid that. Maybe this one, because it was the one that struggled the most with horsepower and trying to pull the broken axles. So we're going to get this finished off, and then the next task that I really want to get into is actually doing the farm build and getting the yard down that end all tidied up, and possibly building the silos, because next episode I'm hoping we're going to be into harvesting some soybeans, because nothing else to do on the farm. All the crops are sorted out. We might be getting close where we don't have any hay yet, but we will hopefully be able to get some feed mixed for our animals, maybe even try and buy a load of hay or something like that just to be able to get that done, but that might be something we can do as well. But certainly the next biggest task, if we zoom out here, you can see these two soybean fields in front of us and the three over the road, plus one more that's down over near the cattle farm over down that way. That is going to keep us well and truly very busy once that is ready. So I do need to get the silo built and placed, so we'll go and get the silage all finished off, and then we will come over here and get the farmyard largely built. We are going to have to borrow some money. We've only got 190 grand, and I know the silos that we're going to use, the GSI complex I'm planning on using is 220 on its own, so we are going to have to take out some sort of loan. It's just how far we go with that. But I'm hoping with all the soybeans here in the fields that will be covered off pretty well. So anyhow, that's enough rambling. Let's get these tractors back over to the field and get the forage harvester up and going. So back over here at the field, you can see the New Holland is underway there with the forage harvester. Of course, there is our little reversing, which I think is the issue we were having with the wheels. But we are driving the Kubota here. We're going to let them carry on and do their thing, and hopefully carry on moving. So we're just going to jump into a little bit of a time lapse, get as much of this done, or try and get this all finished without any more issues. If we can do that, it would be a miracle, and I'll be a very, very happy man. So we'll hopefully next time we talk we'll be all finished and moving on to the yard build. Well, we were going to jump straight into a time lapse, but you'll see this one's actually broken already. That didn't take very long at all. So we're just going to, well, we're going to let them go. It's going to cause all sorts of problems because when they get to the blower, they're probably going to knock into it, but we'll see. We'll wait and see. We'll jump back in the tractor here. We'll start our time lapse up proper now because we know we're not going to have any issues turning around. And we'll wait and see if they can make their way back here. Otherwise, we're just going to have to reset it and do it manually ourselves. In fact, we might even consider just getting rid of that tractor and just running the one ourselves back and forth. So anyhow, let's start the time lapse up and we'll see you in just a little while.
Politics and politicians.
Well, here we are, finally finishing the field off. This is gone not too bad actually. Once I figured out, after our early mishap with the wheels, once I figured out that if I drove the tractors in the field, we wouldn't run into any issues. Everything would just run and work without any drama, and it pretty much has. The only issue I have had is with the automatic engine stop on the John Deere, meaning things won't unload, which is a little bit frustrating. I'm also horribly confused as to why that Kubota has come all the way back over here with a full wagon. It should be back over emptying out, but it has done a loop. It's gone straight past the unloader and not worried about putting it in the blower, but we'll race it back over there. We will go and get this one unloaded and bring it over, and then we can actually make some progress on building the farm. Now this field is going to need to be ploughed, it's going to need to be limed, and I'm going to have to think about what we're going to actually do with it. I haven't thought about what crop we might put into this one, or even if we will keep hold of this bit of land. Obviously got the animals to worry about, not the deer, we're not too worried about them, but we've obviously got the animals there in the pasture to worry about. So we could look to put a crop in there, maybe a cash crop of some description, maybe some more wheat or barley or something like that. We could use some more straw, so maybe that's an option. Probably not a bad one at that. But for now, let's get on back down here and get this unloaded, and we'll bring that Kubota back as well. Alright, there we are. We'll leave that unloading and we'll go and find the Kubota. Now let's just actually have a look. There's was about 20,000 litres in that one, 26,000 and the 30,000 litres in the Kubota. Look at the capacity. We are going to be pretty tight on actually getting it all in there. What do we get on? 717. I don't know if we're going to get it in there. It will be tight, but certainly has paid for itself in upgrading that. Just even having that storage and having that capacity to store all that means we're going to have a good amount of silage once we start getting into the feed mixing and getting animals fed. So anyhow, let's go find that other tractor. I figured it out. Because I drove off and didn't put the last little piece in there, it was only 99% full. When I turned it on to auto drive to go and unload, it would have tried to come to the field rather than going to the silo to unload, which is a little bit frustrating. And that's because I've got the unload at 100% setting in auto drive. If it was set at 95 or 99, it wouldn't have done that. But anyhow, at least that explains why I wasn't going crazy and auto drive wasn't completely losing the plot. We're just going to sneak out in front of this car because they seem to slow down pretty well around here. So that explains that. Anyhow, there we are. We'll get this one unloaded and we'll move on. So just to demonstrate, I think if we click that, see it's gone to F203 weight rather than to the silo. So we'll just press the button so it goes to the silo to unload. And we should be able to turn that onto 1, and it will just stop once it gets to the end of that rather than carrying on and going around a whole lot more. Let's go forward. Looks like this one has emptied itself out. Well, I hope it has, otherwise, it has indeed. I was going to say, otherwise we are going to be completely out of capacity. So, I'm going to park these up over here out of the way so we can get on with the farm build. So I've just come to have a look. Before that happens, I reckon we're going to max out at 750,000, which means we're going to be left with a little bit of silage in that wagon, but that's fine. We can leave that there and empty it out once there's a little bit of more processed in the capacity in the silo, because it shouldn't take too long to knock out 20,000 litres or something. Even if it has to sit in there overnight, it shouldn't be too bad, but we might just sit here and watch and see what happens when it gets to 750. Yeah, and there we go, it is the max level. So that's not bad though. We've got almost 800,000 litres off that field, and in fact I think if we went back and took out those few bits of corners and things like that, which we didn't do a very good job on getting in the first place, we probably would end up at 800,000 litres. So moving on, we're just going to leave those there, and let's go and have a quick look over here in the yard, because we probably need to move some of this equipment out. In fact, I'm going to do that. Let's go and clear this equipment, move it over to the other side, and then we'll come through and take a look at building some sheds and things like that. So here we are with our relatively blank canvas for building. Now I'm going to just go in and give myself a bit of a loan. I'm going to put in about $700,000, see how much of that we might spend in getting everything set up. I'm not sure how far exactly it is going to go, but any we have left over at the end we might just repay down on the loan. But I'm hoping, like I said earlier, the soybeans that we have around about should go a long way towards paying a good percentage of that off, and obviously the cattle, and once we get productive with those, should help as well. Alright, there we are, $886,000 to go ahead and spend. Now we're going to start off with the two sheds over here. Now we're going to use the Trailer Park Farms 72 by 150 barn complex. Now I've been trying to think what colour we might go with actually here, and I was looking, that colour's kind of similar to the barn. Otherwise, we've got the blue here, which is just a little bit lighter. Maybe we'll go with the lighter blue, I think. Now, the downside to this shed, and it really is the length. If we go that way around, it does reduce our yard quite a bit. So we're going to do it around this way and have it as a bit of a drive-through yard. So I'm just going to turn on the toggle snapping there, so we make sure we get it nice and square. And I think, now I have saved the game, so if we do have any dramas I can go and redo this, but I think we're going to put that right down about there. Alright, so there's our first shed placed. That will give us access around from both ends. And secondly is the workshop. Now this is one of the big expenses. There we go, so we've got the matching colour there. You can see, it looks about the same, or is it that one there? No, it definitely is that colour there that's the closest of the two. Now the workshop, again, one of the limitations is the fact that the large door is in the end here. So we're going to put this in about here, so we've got access to the side door. I could turn it around that way, but again, it's going to stick out a long way into the yard, and unfortunately we can't demolish the small carport garage there in the middle without demolishing everything else on the farm, which would have been nice, but we're just going to have to do with that. So we're just going to have a look here. Looks like we're going to have some ground leveling issues, so I might just go through and level that off first. And that looks a lot better. We're seeing more of the slab here on the end. So if we park far enough away, and in fact we don't need a big gap to the end of the big shed, we can get in around there. So I reckon if we put that right about there, should be pretty good. Alright, that gives a little bit of a space up in there. We've obviously got this as a big drive through. Now we are going to leave space for another one of these sheds just in case, which is about there. And then beside that I was looking at doing a drive-through silo or silage bunker, and we've got a few different options that I have downloaded down there, and I think, if I recall correctly, I was looking at this one here because it's about the same footprint. Go over top of the shed, it's about the same footprint as the shed, so we could put one of those in there. Could even do 2 or 3. In fact, if we started from this end, left us enough space between the shed to drive around, we could put one of those there. Now we do have a slightly bigger option, I think, with that one. 88 by 39. No, they're both the same size. I just think it might be the detail and how they're done on the edges that differs. Yeah, it's another 8 by 39. Also 8 by 39, so we might actually go for the higher sided ones because I'm assuming it probably gives us a little bit more capacity, not that it actually tells us anywhere there on the screen. So I think we just come around and try and line it up there towards the back edge. That should be pretty good right about there. And just making sure, just looking to make sure we still had enough money. And we'll put a second one in reasonably close to it, about there. We'll landscape that a little bit out, and that still leaves us space through here for another one of these sheds if we so desire. And then the last, and I'm not going to bother putting this down now, but just the next part is going to be the manure pit, and we're going to have to figure out what size we put down, but just as a bit of an idea, I'm going to fill up about this section in here, and we'd have this around, probably something like that. But we might look as well, possibly doing 2 smaller ones and doing one at each end, because I need to just figure out how big the manure transfer trigger is to take it from the animal pens to the area they are on. So that is pretty much everything. If I just look back at our shed plan or our site plan, is everything that we're going to do there. So we'll just move back over this side and get our big silo put in. And like I said earlier, we are going to use the GSI complex. I've ummed and ahed about whether I use standalone bins. I did wonder about using these smaller Westia ones, 500,000 litres each. We could probably get 6 of those in there, which would be $240,000 and would give us 3 million litres storage. But with the AGI pack, we get 5.5 million litres of storage for the same price, and we don't have to worry about using the augers or anything like that. So we're just going to spin this around. Now just need to leave ourselves enough space for the resupply on the back, and that's quite nice there because it has the drive-through pit, or the unload pit is slightly off the main drive, so we're not going to be driving over it all the time. It's only going to be used when we're unloading. So I think we position that about there. That's pretty nicely lined up with the resupply bins there and with the stave silo, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now in terms of resupply, the only other thing I think we're going to need, both our planters use dry fertilizer, so the only other thing we might want to get is a herbicide tank, which I don't believe Let's just have a quick look if we've got one in here. Ah, there we go, we do. We've got this one which can be used for liquid fertilizer and herbicide. I think this one here is only liquid fertilizer, which is the base game one. Otherwise, so we might as well put that in, get everything done here while we're doing it. But just before we place it, I am going to turn on the triggers so I can make sure I put the load trigger on the right side. And there you go, you can see our fill trigger there on the front. So I think if we just bring this one down towards the end, that'll be perfect. Now, if we do ever want to increase our storage as well, there is space here to put some freestanding silos if we want to. I'm also contemplating and going to do a little bit more research into any of the other Maize Plus or the Aduca mods there, so we can buy loading stations. There's the brewer's grain, which we can buy, beet pulp, which we can buy direct, and then there's obviously the 2 storage silos as well. So potentially could look at putting one of these down to be able to buy what we need to buy to improve our feed mixture. So that is pretty much, again, just going to double check, apart from all the cattle yards, which we're going to have to build at some stage. And again, I don't know how much those are going to cost, but we've pretty much chewed through the whole loan, because we started off about 168 and we're back to 171. So last thing to do is a little bit of a landscaping. So I'll just very quickly race around, and carefully of course, doing some painting and just tidying up the yard in general. Well, I think that is just about going to do it for the build. So we've got everything placed that we wanted to do. We've obviously decorated, painted, got some gravel down all around, and tidied everything up. We've got some fences in there just to make the entrance look a little bit more ranch-like, cattle farm-like. Obviously had a little bit of a clash with the auger wagon when it was parked there. It wouldn't let us place this one, but I might come back in. I don't know whether my OCD is going to handle having that like that. I might square that off yet and to just change how the park here for the houses. But for now, in fact, don't know how we're going to get the baler out of there. That's going to be a little bit difficult to go in and turn around. But there we are. That is our farm build all done. As for our loan, I don't know if we can really afford to pay any more of it off at the moment. We might just have to sit on this money and keep it for now and worry about paying some debt back a little bit later. But other than that, I'm quite happy with how that turned out. It's quite a good change from what it was. So seems like a perfect place and a natural place to wrap things up for this episode. Next time we'll either have advanced time and be into some soybeans. We've got a couple of fields that are going to be ready before the others all going to plan, and otherwise we could be down ploughing and liming the field, or we could be doing them both concurrently. And in fact, a big soybean harvest could be the perfect remedy for a live stream on the weekend. So keep an eye out for where we head to next here on the Canadian Cattle Farmer. But from me for now, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed that episode, and I'll catch you in the next one.